Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Chaile Time. Toby, welcome, and how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Tipping yourself. It's good to see you, man.
I'm good. It's good to see you too. So, what have you been busy with?
I've been busy with reading on Trump.
I'm actually waiting for my papers, so that you can hand over the company. You're moving to America, so
I'm moving to America.
I can take care of Afrikaner, Mos.
Afrikaner?
Yeah, moving to America, so I need you to hand over, even this building.
I can only imagine a lot of BEE companies where there's like a part ownership, The black is now like, no, you're going to move to America.
But there's this lady I've been following her on TikTok. Mm-hmm. She's been explaining this thing and then where does the
this thing about going to America?
Yes, this conspiracy. It's like, people must be careful. You're going to work at the plantation when you get there, You're going to leave your business here where you...
Ja, in Afrikaans hulle sê, die gras lyk altyd groener aan die ander kant, maar nee.
It's not that green.
Look, the fact of the matter is, I read last night, apparently like over 20,000 Afrikaners already applied. I suppose if you really want to go, it makes sense if you're 18 years old and maybe go build the future. But the reality of the matter is, if you're middle age or whatever the case may be, you're going to be a refugee.
Yeah.
Ek gaan in 'n tent bly. I'm going to live in a tent there, you see. It's not going to be so romantic as people are making it out to be. And besides that, Donald Trump now, he's got this idea that everybody wants to live in America. There's not a chance that I want to live in America. I call it Banana Republic. I hope I don't know. Sometimes people phone me and say, you can't say that. Do you want to go live in America?
No, I believe their food is terrible, so I still love my pap and mochodu.
People become nuts, man.
So I believe the food there is terrible.
If you ask me, it's like nuts going there. I mean, we have paradise here.
Thank you.
We've got the big five.
Thank you. So I don't know what they're talking about because, I've known this white man since 2008, and then how would I want to take his land forcefully? I don't understand this whole...
Talk politics for a moment. Let's just contextualize this. I'm an Afrikaner.
Yes.
And please, everybody's got their own opinions. This is me talking. And I'm not representing the Afrikaner dom here. I'm talking me now, okay? Yes, employment equity and the affirmative action policies have had an influence on my career, my whole life. In terms of I'm well qualified and educated, I could always only get in corporate, be promoted up to a certain point. Even though in the one company I worked for, I was probably one of the highest qualified people in the entire organization, there was always a ceiling.
Yes.
But let's also understand this. It's always been going well with me. So from a white man perspective, it's still paradise.
He is Afrikaans, but it's not part of that forum, ne?
You see, the Afrikaner in South Africa, and I'm not talking farm murders now, I'm not talking about the crimes and that stuff. Obviously, that's horrible. But holistically seen, I think that the white man, we're doing okay, man. Huh? We can't really complain. I mean, look at the houses, it's nice, the sun, the big five. Let me tell you this. In 1998, I went to visit my auntie in England, the first time I ever saw her. I knew I had an auntie, so I actually went to visit her, me and my brother. I was only there for 1 month, and I was just like, oh man, I miss South Africa, and when I came back, the first thing I did is I grabbed the ground, and I was just like, I miss my black South Africa. I think people are exaggerating this whole thing again. And I was thinking about the other day, like Musk is now having a bit of a spat with Julius Malema. I don't like what Julius Malema say about white people. I don't think we should say these things about each other. I don't think that you should sing kill the boer, and I don't think we should say or sing kill the black man. Yeah. We shouldn't do that. But still, the moment in my heart Musk was saying those things about Julius, I'm like, it's my Julius.
It's my juju.
It's my juju.
It's my juju, baby.
Who is Musk to attack my juju? We will sort each other out. It's not for those Americans to come and sort out our stuff.
That's one thing I love about South Africa. They will protect each other outside, out there.
It's my Jews do that. We will clap and mood each other, you see, but it's not their job.
Anyway, okay. Our audience wants to interact with us. They interact with us, so they have 2 questions. So
questions, okay? Yeah.
Yes. So it's Q&A. I'm going to pose 2 questions to you, whereby they want to get some sort of a clarification. Okay. So question number 1 is how to handle an employee who is struggling to cope due to mental illness.
Mental illness, sure. I think we need to have a conference on mental illness. I start seeing mental illness to become very prevalent in the workplace. It is something that's there, and I get the idea many employers, we are not really aware that there's this problem brewing in the workplace. And we've had numerous cases already where employees we dismiss employees, they go to the CCM, and look, we've always won the cases. Yes. Because there is let me put it this way, there's an LRA answer to the problem also. Yes. But the LRA answer is not the only answer. There's a bit of a bundle or a basket of ideas or solutions that one need to focus on. But I think step number 1 is an employer must become aware that the purpose of labor legislation is to create justice and peace and harmony, relationships in the workplace, and being aware of the growing problem of mental illness in the workplace, I think it is a start-off point. Now, yes, I understand that ultimately an employer is not responsible for your medical situation or condition, unless if it's caused by the workplace, obviously. We're not talking about that now. But the reality of the matter is life is changing. We are running at a tremendous fast pace. Yeah. It's becoming complicated. It's becoming difficult to put food on the table. The economy, now you get the Trumpian there on that side, blocking aid, putting on tariffs. Life is just getting more stressful. Okay, so we need to be aware of that. And we cannot just say we're not going to employ humans anymore just because people get suffering from mental illness. So I think first of all it's an awareness in the company that listen, this is a situation. But besides awareness, before we get to the medical treatment and so, I think there's something that employers need to do. And this is in addition to an awareness campaign. Secondly, we need to maybe consider re-engineering our processes in the workplace and identifying this chain of events of every single process in your business. Where are the key pain points that causes stress on employees? Now the thing is this, every business operates in a stressful environment. You will never rid the business of stress. Stress is going to be there, but you'll be surprised once you start focusing on it how much stress is unnecessary. And I'm talking about eliminating unnecessary stress in the workplace. And here you need to ask yourself, for instance, if in a contract of employment you say work time is from 8 to 5 or 8 to 4, how often do you let staff work later just because you're difficult or it's not necessary? Of course, if people must work overtime, they must work overtime. But you know what, man, especially managerial level and up, of course there's a higher burden of expectation on a person to perform. But how often do we just allow, we're very quick as an employer. When I recruit a manager, you work from 8 to 5, but we never mean it. Yeah. I'm asking, when do we start meaning it?
Yeah, because you find people. What I often get is, you don't know those people. They don't even want to listen to us. And I get that a lot when I'm attending cases at the CCMA, because, sometimes I'll try and throw a curveball to an employee, maybe in order to withdraw the case or settle on terms that maybe you can get the neutral reference and stuff. And the employee will be like, who are you talking about? That person is not listening to me. I know him. I work with him you don't know him. You come here to
That's the thing. We don't listen. How many employers don't give their staff leave? Oof. It's alarming. So yes, you can, in terms of an agreement, let's stop work overtime, but how many people or employers are taking advantage of this? I'm talking about those things, I am personally acutely aware of this thing. That's why my staff, most of my staff, they for instance get a paid Friday off a month. Because I'm aware that, you can be dealing with disputes and fighting all the time. It has its toll on your mental abilities,
Yeah.
So can you do it in your company? Maybe you can, maybe you can't, I was at a company, for instance, yesterday, and they've got two businesses. The one is now implementing a provident fund, so there's going to be an employee deduction every month for provident fund and an employer deduction. Then I've asked the HR of the second company, don't you guys want this too? And they said no, the management no. And the reason being is because I can't afford that deduction. Then I boasted and said, yeah, we're also having a provident fund in our company as from the 1st of March now. And in this case, there will be an employee deduction and in our case, an employee deduction and an employer deduction, but I'm giving you the increase on full. So it doesn't actually touch your salary.
Yeah.
And from that foundation, the deductions are made. Now look, obviously we're a small company, so we can afford it. And I understand a lot of companies can't afford it, but I'm talking about those small things that makes a difference, But that's mental illness in terms of being aware, maybe re-engineering some of your processes. Then there's obviously the medical side of things. Some companies have an EAP program where there's assistance provided to people like that. And obviously in your private capacity, you probably need to go see a psychiatrist to see if you can't get treatment and medicine and medication or whatever. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I can't talk too much about that aspect, but I do know that there are assistance available, and some companies do have an EAP program whereby employees can seek assistance.
I think also my little 2 cents. It's very important to have an open door policy.
Yeah.
Because some people are scared to talk. They are scared to knock on the door because, I have some personal issues that I'm going through.
If I may
some
say
time
this,
off,
I want to be a bit more straightforward, abrupt.
Yes.
Maybe mental illness is the new HIV.
Correct. Because
You're so scared to talk about this.
yes, we are scared to talk about it.
I remember in days gone by when HIV became a thing, it's like, I'm not even going to sit in the same toilet.
Yes, it is stigmatized. It is stigmatized.
Yes. So I'm too scared to talk. Or also maybe sexual orientations, like, I can't come out of the closet if I can put it that way.
Yes, no, that's it.
Maybe it's like that. So then the fourth element is obviously the LRA, the Labour Relations Act. A company is not a charity either. I do think a company must play their part in Schedule 8 to the Code of Good Practice. If you look at it this way, the incapacity procedures is not actually in its foundation a dismissal procedure, even though if you follow the procedure, it can lead to dismissal. But it's actually a process engineered to try and find alternatives. Can't you try to accommodate the employees?
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, we're all South Africans. We can't create an environment where the moment there's something wrong with you, you can't work. I mean, I think 99% of people eventually won't work. And I think many more people are struggling from mental illness than what we actually realize.
Yes.
So Schedule 8 actually asks, how can we, first of all, identify the real nature of this issue and how can we implement amendments to the T's and C's of contract of employment or alternatives. But yes, ultimately, if it does impact the business negatively, you can exit that person from the business, ultimately.
Termination should be the last
resort.
resort.
Last resort, Unfortunately, a lot of companies, they start in capacity process with the end in mind.
We must stay away from that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for your response. Let me quickly do the second question. The second question goes like, how to handle employees who refuses to join a trade union when they are compelled to do so by a closed shop agreement.
Closed shop agreement. So now I'm going to take out my LRA here. There's some points I want to highlight here. So in essence, if there's a majority trade union in the workplace, a trade union, they are representative, but they have the majority of the staff or in the bargaining unit. Now, just quickly, a bargaining unit, it's not to say that when a union comes in, that they will automatically have members of all the different departments in the business. A part of the recognition agreement is for the union and the employer together to identify the key bargaining unit in which the organizational rights will apply. Okay, so if there's a majority in the bargaining unit of the staff who are members of the union, then the staff can actually, via agreement, implement what they call an agency agreement or a closed shop agreement. If they want to, they don't have to, but they can if they want to do that. Now, an agency agreement, in essence, because the union, when they negotiate for improved terms and conditions of employment and benefits, it's normally extended to non-members also. So they also enjoy that benefit. So now with the agency agreement, all staff must pay union subscription. So basically you need to pay the union for the benefits you enjoy if you're not a member. But now today we're talking about the closed shop agreement. Now the closed shop agreement in essence, okay, if there's a closed shop agreement, it means every person in that bargaining unit must join the union. If not, you are dismissed. It becomes a terms and condition of employment. And if you do not join the union, they'll dismiss you for that reason, and that's how it is.
But now, how many percentage of majority must a union have?
Well, it's normally 50 plus 1. It's just a simple majority.
Or not like our friends there down the road.
Friends down the road. Let me just read here quickly. There's a lot to say. Section 26 of the Labour Relations Act, closed shop agreements. Here's some pointers here. A representative trade union and an employer or employers organization may conclude a collective agreement to be known as a closed shop agreement, requiring all employees covered by the agreement to be members of the trade union. All employees covered by the agreement. This is where your bargaining unit is coming in. It's not to say it's everyone in the company. If there's a specific bargaining unit identified, it will apply to them in terms of agreement if there is one. For the purpose of this section, the representative trade union means a registered trade union or two or more registered trade unions acting jointly whose members are a majority of the employees employed. Okay? But I want to highlight two elements here, or two subsections here. Subsection 3, a closed shop agreement is binding only if, then there's a 4 points here, I'm going to do A and B here. A ballot has been held of the employees to be covered by the agreement. B, 2/3 of the employees who voted in favor of the agreement. So I'm surprised by the question, what do you do with employees who don't want to join the union if there's a closed shop agreement? Because what should happen is there should have been a ballot in the bargaining unit. 2/3 of the employees would have agreed to it.
Yeah.
So in principle, I don't think you should really get this problem, because most people by then should know what this is about and had agreed to this. But okay, at the end of the day, the minority, if there are 1 or 2 people who don't want to do this, well, look, at the end of the day, in terms of the agreement, will become a term and condition of employment. You don't join, you don't work.
So it can be
terminated, yes.
Ooh. Hey, hectic stuff. Okay, I think you have answered.
Yeah.
And then I think the message will relay proper to the masses. So tell me, what is that actually we are going to talk about today?
Yeah, like we should actually just do Chaile's time on Q&As, eh, Chaile? It takes so much time. So, but anyway, we're actually talking today about the hidden dangers of informal HR policies. The hidden dangers of informal HR policies. You know, now this message will probably resonate with small employers and medium-sized employers, so SMEs mostly, because they typically adopt an informal approach to managing their business. They don't necessarily have expensive HR managers, and so your corporates are normally mostly sorted out. But there are 2 or 3 things I want to just to highlight here. The dangers of employers enjoying or preferring informal relationships with their staff. And there's 3 things that I've noticed recently. The one is we're dealing with a new client of ours, and you're actually going there today, okay, to start assisting with this process. They've got a compliance order from the Department of Labour of over 300,000 rand. Why? because of not paying minimum wages, not paying Sunday time, not paying public holiday, and not paying overtime. But the scary part is, Chaile, the inspector came to site. There's no record of anything. There's no payslips. There's no timesheets. There is no rosters. There's nothing.
So the employee can say, I worked 600 hours.
That's exactly what happened. So you went to all the staff and asked them for their opinion.
And then the employer is like, no, it's not true, but he cannot put anything on the table to say.
You can't put anything on the table. So now the inspector slapped them with over, I think it's like 380,000 or something like that. And that's what you need to go and deal with now, because now the employer is saying, these guys are working much less than 195 hours a month. And they told the inspector they're all working 195 plus overtime. Now, how do you, just common sense here, how do you actually manage and prove this now? If you look at what the Basic Conditions of Employment Act says in section 31, keeping of records. Every employer must keep a record containing at least the following information: the employee's name and occupation, the time worked by each employee, the remuneration paid to each employee, okay? A record in terms of subsection 1 must be kept by the employer for a period of 3 years. So what must the inspector now do? You're supposed to keep records of this. He's asking for the stuff that you as an employer can't give it.
And you know what happens sometimes? That thing is also embarrassing to us, because Monday I went to a certain company to go and explain the amendments of their employment contract, because they added few clauses there. But now here I am with confidence explaining those clauses and everything, and the other guy say, my brother, I've been here for 2 years, I don't even have a contract, so what are you amending?
And that's the second thing I want to refer to here, this whole debate about contracts. Some employers think that if you don't give somebody an employment contract, they can't take you to the CCMA. I don't know where this is coming from. Any dispute at the CCMA emanates from the employment relationship, not necessarily the physical piece of paper.
Yes.
There's a presumption of employment in section 200 capital A. If the presumption goes, if any one of those 7 factors are true, it's presumed that there's an employment relationship. Yes. Okay, so you don't have to provide a piece of paper. But the thing is this, once again, a contract of employment protects you, the employer, in terms of unnecessary lawsuits. It defines this relationship, the hours of work, where you're working. Some contracts have confidentiality agreements in, a restraint of trade. Now you're an executive working in the company without a contract. Tomorrow he resigns and go work for the opposition. What are you going to do? Stop him. You see. But now, let's also be honest, part of the reason why some employers don't want to do contract step is because they actually don't want to adhere to their own contracts. The contract says 8 to 5. No, but I'm expecting you to work 8 to 10.
There's a lot of work here.
You see, and also the contract says your place of work is here. But not really. Your place of work is here, tomorrow it's there, then it's everywhere. So they want that flexibility. So I'm like, no man, put it in the contract. If you want a flexible relationship, put it in there. Yeah. But have the contract, it protects you. And then the third thing, which I picked up recently, a recognition agreement of a union with a trade union, between a trade union and an employer. I know that generally speaking, employers don't like trade unions. So many of them don't actually enter into a recognition agreement with a union. They are there. You know what? The unions are happy if you don't have a recognition agreement. Do you know why? It gives them the freedom to do what they want.
Yeah, they can come.
Then employers come to complain to me, that bloody union is always here. They're always having meetings. They're disturbing the workplace. I'm like, where's your recognition agreement? Number one, to identify your bargaining unit. So who does this relationship apply to? And secondly, what's the boundaries? How many minutes or hours per week or per month can they actually gain access to the workplace? Who do they need to get permission from first? Sometimes in our case, for instance, we have clients where there's recognition agreements. If they want to have a meeting with the staff, they phone Wena first. Wena gives them approval. You see, it's in the agreements, you see. So you can't just walk in there and have meetings. Some great things, like for instance, we dealt with recently, there's one recognition agreement of that company.
Yes.
They
Our
have
friends down
a
the road.
grievance policy in the recognition agreement where the union agreed for any dispute that may be referred to the CCMA, they will always follow the internal grievance first. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Now, the courts are also clear on this. Of course, staff have the right to refer a dispute to the CCMA, but this kind of agreement puts a small procedural bar. It just extends the timing. So, what it says is before going to the CCMA, do the grievance first. And especially in terms of Section 73A disputes, the employees very quickly run to the CCMA. They don't put the calculation in the 711 form. So you as an employer pitch up there, you don't know what the dispute is about, they've never spoken to you. So if you have a recognition agreement where it states the grievance process will be followed first, it solves that matter. Now the CCMA say go talk to the employer first. The other commissioner at the CCMA the other day said to the union, I dealt with, sir, you only come to the CCMA when there's a dispute. If you haven't spoken to your employer yet, there's no dispute.
There's no dispute.
Go back. So you withdrew the case, go talk to your employer. You see? Yeah. I've built into another recognition agreement with a union, another company, because there's this thing that unions sometimes do is that an HR manager will become strict and the operations manager maybe start giving warnings, whatever the case may be. Then they will file a matter of mutual interest dispute to the CCMA, demanding the dismissal of the HR and operations manager. That's an unlawful demand to start off with, but now they file these things. Okay, I've built a clause into the recognition agreement, right after the union signed it off, that they will not file these silly, unlawful mutual interest disputes. I don't even know if they realize this, but they've signed for it.
Yeah, they've signed for it.
And then last night I had a dinner with a CCMA commissioner who's a friend of mine. And we were talking about this. And he then said, you know, Tui, let me read this for you. If I can find it here now. Section 191. Section 191, disputes about unfair dismissals and unfair labour practices. It says here, a referral in terms of paragraph A must be made within, and then the one for unfair labour practice is 90 days of the date of the act or omission which allegedly constitutes unfair labour practice. Okay? It says it must be made within 90 days. And it said to me, no, there are some of these agreements that actually state where the parties agreed they will make a referral to the CCMA within 30 days. Yeah. So you can make it less if you agree. So now people forget about the recognition agreements, there's unfair labour practice, then 90 days later they want to file the dispute. Now you're out of time, sunshine. Condemnation, you see. So that's the beauty of formalizing your relationship. And I'm not going to talk about it, but also having a disciplinary hearing for dismissal dispute. You know, Schedule 8.4 of the Code of Good Practice only requires that you charge an employee in the form and the language he understands. So you don't have to do it in writing. Give him a fair opportunity or a reasonable time to prepare, an opportunity to have a representative, and giving him the outcome of the inquiry, preferably in writing. So you don't have to do this in writing. But you know the onus in a dismissal dispute at the CCMA is on the employer. So if you do everything verbally and informally, and he starts denying it, the employee now at the CCMA, how are you going to prove it? Yeah. You see? So that is it for today. I want to encourage, formalize your employment relationships.
Just a quick one
in a structured way.
Before we run. What is this thing of not giving employees pay slips? What is it with? Because in most places where I go, then I'll be like, where's your pay slip? Let me see it. Ever since I started working here, I don't even know how my pay slip looks like.
I don't know the answer, but I can speculate.
Yeah.
There's a few reasons for it. Number one, even though it's not a requirement in terms of the Basic Conditions of Employment Act to have a payroll system like SAGE or VIP, the basic condition just says that you must give it to a person in writing. So I suppose you can take a piece of toilet paper and write it on there for him. Then you meet the requirements of the BCA. But life doesn't work that way. We live in a modern era, so you can't just use a piece of paper. And I've seen companies using Excel sheets, no problem with that, but it becomes difficult because now those payroll systems, Sage or VIP, does the calculations automatically for you. If you use a piece of paper or Excel, now you need to be a chartered accountant yourself and do the calculations. So that's difficult. And also then people or employers have this perception, outsourcing, if you're an SME for instance, outsourcing payroll is expensive. It's not expensive. It's most of the time less than a minimum wage employee. So there's this perception it's expensive to outsource payroll. Like for us, for instance, I will give this one company, they've got 50 staff. Our quote to them came to like 2,500 rand or something. I mean, it's half of national wage. Oh no, yes, that's expensive. But they're the ones who have overpaid staff between 5,000 and 8,000 rand for this year per person. But they can't spend 2,500 rand on a payroll service. This is where I'm just like, maybe I should go to America. Anyway, that's the one reason. People think it's expensive, they're ignorant, it's difficult to do, and it is difficult to do. Because you need to calculate normal hours of work. There's not 4 weeks in a month. There's 4.33 weeks in a month.
And I can tell you again, also to explain to the employee, it's also rocket science to the person who's dealing with the Excel sheet.
Yeah, it's difficult. It takes so much time. And then the thing is, the second reason, some employers cheat on their taxes. They make deductions for Provident Fund, UIF, PAYE, but they actually never pay it over to SARS and the powers to be. So they operate under the radar. Now you get an employee who's working there for 20 years, now he resigns or retire or whatever the case may be, now he wants to claim Provident Fund. Oh, sorry, you haven't paid for 20 years.
Maybe I was
there were deductions for 20 years.
Maybe I was supposed to retract that question correctly.
But this is real, this is what we see.
Reality.
A lot of employers, they don't pay the stuff over. We do. Go check it out.
100%.
Guys, I sorted out. You can go check everything. Koida, we actually overpaid. There's like a few thousand rand kitty in there for us already. So, but yeah, so.
Okay, no, thank you again. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to interact with us. Like and subscribe. See you next time. Bye.